today I want to discuss the infamous Zelensky and Trump meeting at Oval Office in US. And I want this to be an open discussion, so feel free to write down your thoughts in the comments. And we need to look at this in a neutral way. I mean, without taking sides of either US or Ukraine, because on many occasions both of them seem to be right. Although it looks that Trump is trying to be aggressive and make use of this situation. I mean, we need to look at his background. Trump is basically a businessman. He is a president only later, but he's not acting as a president right now. I think he's very transactional, he's business minded to an extent that is good for the economics of a country, actually. And I kind of like many of Trump's policies and his thoughts. Although I'm not a US citizen, I thought he would do good or even better than the previous president, which was Joe Biden. Trump is thinking of, why should the US spend or give so much money and then get nothing in return? I wouldn't say it's totally right or wrong. It has both sides. What do you guys think? However, Zelensky too is not wrong. He's trying to ask security for the exchange of the contract of rare earth that is being given to US, but US has no mention of security in the contract, and they are just trying to get back the initial 350 billion or so investment that they made or the previous government which Trump claims to have been made. Now that was not a decision of Ukraine. It was a decision of the United States to provide assistance, and we need to go a little bit deeper and back in history to see who is really be held responsible for this. Now, back in the Soviet days, the Soviet Union was promised that NATO would not expand eastwards, that is towards Russia, but there was no written contract, I suppose. It was only verbal. And now today we don't have the Soviet Union, we just have Russia. So I'm just telling you history in brief. So this is what happened. Now that has been forgotten, and US always supported at least backdoor for Ukraine's entry into NATO, and that was the prime reason for Russia to invade Ukraine. Of course, Zelensky is showing Trump photographs of Russia's violence it has meted to its soldiers. Of course, that is the darker side of this war, but that is a different issue. But having said that, it is also true that Ukraine wanted to go to NATO, and that is Ukraine's choice. I'm not saying that Ukraine should not go, but US, the convener or the initiator of NATO, should have said a firm no right in the beginning. If that was done by the previous regime, this war would never have started. It was because of US, along with Europe, who wanted to have Ukraine as a NATO member, pushed Russia for this war. I think that is the root cause that needs to be addressed or pointed at. So it was really the US which pushed Russia to go on war with Ukraine. So in a way, the US is responsible. And Joe Biden was in fact very much, at least if not very evidently, but behind the doors, trying to push Ukraine and not negotiate initially. We all saw that. Okay, so US had to pay a price because US wanted Ukraine to stay in the war and not negotiate initially. They helped them with money, with weapons, and Ukraine's own soldiers, with the help of this money and US weapons, continued the war even to this day. But currently, Donald Trump wants to stop the war, and he does not want to give any fund, which is a decision. We should respect that. But how fair is it for Donald Trump to ask for the money back and then get rare earth contracts, for an indefinite amount of time? How would even Ukraine, if at all the war is stopped, recoup if it gives its natural resources to the US? How on earth would Ukraine rebuild itself? I mean, that's a fair question, and I think we saw the frustration in Zelensky's eyes in that meeting. It was very evident that he was not happy with whatever was his body language, trying to jump off and trying to speak out of turn, which is understandable because he's concerned about his country and he's concerned about his people. He can do things under pressure, especially of another country, and go sign his country resources off for an indefinite amount of time. Look, it was the US which pushed Ukraine into the war. It instigated Russia on one side, and then it provided money to Ukraine, the financial support to Ukraine to stay in the war. Of course, along with Europe. So US, and to an extent even the European nations, are collectively responsible for this war. And I don't think it's fair now for either US or Europe to try and ask the money back or suddenly stop giving security to Ukraine. You have put your leg into it. You have to get it to an end. You have to either negotiate with Russia, take responsibility, and stop the war. And not just stopping the war, someone has to take responsibility re-establishing the Ukrainian state, and also not, like wolves trying to get resources, acquire resources in Ukraine. I mean, come on guys, be fair. How do you think Ukraine will ever recoup, even if the war is stopped? If you guys want the money back or you want the resources, even Russia would try to do the same with the occupied areas. I don't think it would stay quiet because even Russia has suffered losses. So Putin would like to get his money back by exploiting the natural resources of Ukraine, if at all there is any. So I think Ukraine is doomed because of the selfish powers of the West, especially the US and to an extent Europe. And Europe still doesn't learn the lesson. UK still wants to support Ukraine with the war. I mean, do you guys think you can win this war, and that too as a proxy? I don't think that's an easy task. If you want to defeat Russia, the only way is to directly fight with Russia and not as a proxy through Ukraine. That's not going to happen. What, do you want to start a nuclear war? Is that what you guys want? It's a small thing. All you had to do is say no to Ukraine for NATO. That's it. It's a very small thing. You guys tried and blew it out of proportions. It's a very small thing. There's nothing that Russia would have done if you guys were clear and said no to Ukraine. Okay, of course there was no written agreement that Ukraine will not be part of NATO, but you guys need to keep your word. And you don't keep your word, this is what is going to happen. It's a small mistake, which you might think it's a small one, but it's turned out to be such a big one. And if tomorrow there is a nuclear war, I think US and Europe will be responsible for this. It's not Russia. You are the instigators. You want to provoke, and US has always done this. This is not the first time. Trump just literally said he wants to turn Gaza into a resort. I mean, how does he get that right? Who is he? You just go and take over a piece of land which doesn't even belong to you? I think that there is a sinister plan to wipe out Palestine from Israel, within Israel. I don't think they want a two-state solution at all. And the whole world is shockingly not opposing. They just opposed with one statement, and that's it. It's very sad, and I'm even disappointed with Muslim countries for not doing much on what Trump had to say about Gaza. I think it's just a step forward to wiping out Palestine from the map. This West Bank and Gaza is gone now. I'm sure they won't let them reoccupy Gaza. Some Saudi kingdoms, some Middle East kingdoms have already expressed that they would take some refugees in. So I think the line is clear for Trump to push them off elsewhere and then occupy Gaza, his own property. And Trump being Trump is very transactional to say. He's not even if you listen to his words, he's not even bothered about Ukraine security anymore. He's just saying that no, we need to explore the rare earth for minerals, making fantastic things and making weapons. He is not even talking about security for Ukraine. It's a very sad state for Trump, who is the president of the most powerful country, or maybe the second most powerful country after China, to say this. I don't know what this will eventually lead into, and I'm sure if the US and Europe don't take the responsibility, they will be responsible for the nuclear war. And it's not Russia, it's US and Europe, no one else. It's not at all Russia. Russia has been instigated, it has been pushed to do this. Putin wouldn't have done this if there was no provocation by the US on Ukraine to join NATO. And that is the root cause. Joe Biden purposely did not oppose Ukraine's entry into NATO. He instigated, he even stopped Ukraine from negotiations, supplied them with money and weapons. They actually wanted the war to happen. It's a way to test Russia, and Russia is now, they have this 6-in-1 nuclear weapon, which is you can't stop that. I cannot recall the name, but you cannot stop that nuclear weapon. Because there are 6 warheads coming in from the top, and then coming in at the Mach 10 speeds. And if Putin does that, Europe will be in danger. I think it's high time that Europe stops supporting Zelensky and instigate him for further war. I think Europe should try to provide security to Ukraine and Zelensky, push him to the negotiation table immediately, do what it takes, do some give and take here and there. But Europe should be responsible to give security Ukraine, because you were the instigators. Now you have to pay the price. If Russia attacks, then you need to support Ukraine. And when I mean support Ukraine, you don't need to fight Russia. That is not what I mean. You just need to maintain that Russia doesn't attack Ukraine in future. And then not try to exploit Ukraine, because it's already been exploited, plundered by Russia, for which you're already responsible. Have some ethics, have some morals, have a moral ground, and you need to look at it in a very moral way. Just don't try to exploit, okay? This is for the US, and I don't think US is going to listen. But Donald Trump is a transactional guy. I don't think he's going to listen. He's going to listen to Europe. Okay, he says, you give me the money or I'm not supporting you guys. He's like that. So if he doesn't get those contracts, I don't think he's going to and if he doesn't get the contracts, I think he will come and ask for the money back, the $350 billion that the previous regime has spent on this war. But I think Ukraine has a reply that it can tell the US to just buzz off, because we are not paying it back, because you guys wanted us to continue the war. And you guys supported us. Ukraine can tell US on the face that it cannot repay it back. But of course there is the danger of US sanctioning Ukraine, just like it has done to Iran, not adhering to their oil treaty, which was done way back. So US has its way to pull you and put you in place. So it's a very tricky situation. I don't want to blame anyone here. I think everyone has a responsibility in this situation, especially the US and the Europe. Because Europe, you guys take a stand with Ukraine, but you guys never take a stand when it comes to Gaza. In fact, Asia. Okay, you just want to see that only your race is protected. I think it's a very racial thing. You just want to see, okay, this is where my is headed. I just want to protect my race. This is what I think. This is what the thought process in Europe. Okay, you're not bothered about the world, and Asian countries don't support Ukraine. Stands with Russia. You get irritated, and you start blaming those countries. Why should they support Ukraine? Why should Russia support Ukraine when you guys never care about the Middle East or Asia? Where were you when Gaza was plundered all these years? because Israel is one of yours, the people are one of yours. Correct. So this is the if I should say this in a politically in what do you say, in a very straightforward manner, I think it's all about you being Christians, Muslims, and Asians, and it's all about religion. You're trying to see, okay, he's European, he's Christian, so I'll worry about Ukraine. I won't care about Gaza. They're Muslims, they're Arabs. I don't care about Asia because they're totally different religion, dirty people. That's what you think. You're paying the price now for that. So stop doing that. Learn your lessons. I'll come back again. Goodbye for now. Thank you for listening. Please do give me your comments. I would love to read your perspective. And maybe I will correct myself in future. If I am wrong, I'll correct but this is my understanding. I really think that this has to be looked from a historical viewpoint, what happened previously, and how the US is trying to manipulate, because US has always done that. It's always done that. Goodbye guys. That's all for now.